Hello, my friends. Good morning, Stonkmerica. My name's Rocky Outcrop, and for the next 2 hours, you're joining me to take a look at the stock markets, financial industry related news, and to just spend some time as part of a community that gets you in the right mindset for being successful and financially independent. So, how are you all doing? Hope you're all doing very, very well. Have you got your coffee? Tea time with Rocky? No tea? That's fine. Have coffee. Whoa, I've got my cup of tea over here. Well, I'm hoping that everything's going along smoothly. I checked out my stream yesterday after streaming, and it seemed my audio was in sync with my lips, despite what I see on my own screen. So, hey, there you go. I don't know. I'm just going to go with it. Let me know in the comments afterwards if my audio isn't in sync. And we'll be looking at lots of different stuff. MMAT yesterday, dropping back down to fill in that gap after we talked about it. Well, hey, that was some movement that we saw on that stock yesterday. Managed to do a whole bunch of stuff. It went all the way as high as 580, something like that, back down again to 427. So we went around the world with that one. And in terms of news and stuff like that, and we'll be looking at news at the top of the hour, I think we'll be talking about girl bosses. What do you think of girl bosses? Because Elizabeth Holmes is back in the news again. Elizabeth Holmes, if you don't know who she is the person responsible for the company Theranos, which claimed to be able to do full spectrum blood tests on just a single drop. It was very futuristic sounding, and it seemed to have roped in a whole bunch of big investors. And a big part of this is that there was a settlement with those investors, with some investors anyway, early investors, recently. I can't remember when that was. Was it last year even? I don't know. And that was big. That was big news at the time, because it was like, has she managed to get off the hook somehow? Well, the federal government is back looking to see if they can get her with 12 different charges and put her away for 20 years. And it brings back a question to the audience, and it's something I'm going to ask all of you. Let me know what you think. Was Elizabeth Holmes, even with the massive fraud that she obviously committed, and the fact that she's a bad person, most likely, I think that's a fair enough comment to make, and and in many ways a bad business person, etc. too. Um, what do you think of her? I think in many ways she's done an awful lot to forward the case for women in business. I think she's done really excellent work, if you like, at making it so that the ideas of women being in charge, women lying just like any other man would do to get the job done, is absolutely commendable in a really bizarre sense, in that she maybe has actually done more good than harm for women. I don't really know. I'm one of these people who thinks that Margaret Thatcher, the former Prime Minister of the United Kingdom, did more harm than good for women, in a sense, because she seemed to be, as I describe it, a woman that needed to put a pair of socks down her trousers to succeed in the world, and kind of to embrace manliness. Whereas I think that Elizabeth Holmes woman was a really powerful woman. Despite the fact that she's, or is a really powerful woman, was a really powerful woman, despite the fact that she's an out and out liar. I mean, she got Jim Cramer to say, to defend her and say, no, she's good, I trust her, that type of thing. And that's commendable, without having to be, just while still being like, a makeup wearing blonde, feminine figure who and I thought it was really, really remarkable. So anyway, lots of interesting stuff to discuss with regards to all of that coming up in today's show. Thank you, by the way, for your patience today. I would have been here quicker, but I had to blow my nose. You know how it is. And let's just dive on over to the charts. Well, hey, look, I've got myself in my green screen sort of setup. Got the camera up here. Hopefully I can remember to look up towards that one when I'm talking to you over here. Got a real strong habit of looking back over there again. And we have the charts up beside us. I've had to flip my camera over to make it so that I'm on this side of the screen with the way that I've got this laid out. I would much prefer to have it so that I was the other way around. Maybe I can change this actually just while we're doing this here together, if you don't mind. If you don't mind, let me see if I can get myself and flip myself back the way I'm supposed to be. Transform. Let me see. No. Yeah, I don't know. Let's see. Transform, flip vertical? No. Oh, damn it. I'm upside down. How silly of me. Transform, flip horizontal. That's what we want to do. Flip horizontal. So that's the way I think it's out of the box normally. And then I would be on the right, you see. Now I don't want to be on the right. I want to be on the left. So I have to go lefter. How does this work? That? Oh, I can change the camera angle around of the thing. Put me way left, right? So okay, if I go, okay, sorry about this. This is just me trying to learn how to do the job I've been doing for a year and a month, a year for 13, 14 months now. Just trying to learn it, learning on the job. The rocky outcrop is what we do here. There's my arm. That's hello everybody. Meet well, that's my arm. Say hi. Right. Okay. Cool. So we can kind of there we go. That's kind of good enough, I guess. Right. I don't know. Maybe there's better systems. I need to get the. I need to. Of course, this is me thinking purely of your benefit here. Really, throughout this entire process, I didn't stop to think what was the most pretty angle for me to look at the camera at all. So so this is not about my own aesthetic. Right. Cool. So this is the MMAT chart. That's what we were talking about there before. And we didn't actually fill in yawn gap over there. So there was a couple of things we were talking about yesterday, and we'll go through that in a bit more detail just now. So we're looking down towards 417 still on this bad boy over here. Can it happen? Will it happen? In fact, is the kind of more the question that people want to know. But all I can really answer is that, yeah, I mean, it can happen. And it wouldn't be a surprise at all in the slightest. Wow, isn't it kind of crazy what's happened here with regards to this massive movement up? So we tuned into this chart yesterday when we kind of noticed that it was ripping, so to speak. And camera, point more at me. Sacrifice a little bit of this angle for point. At least look at me. At least look at me, camera. Right. Okay. Sacrificed a wee bit of its what am I saying sacrifice for it? Whatever. Anyway, we moved all the way up yesterday and it was ripping, and then of course we've had to give up those gains, come back down the way and fill in that gap. It was interesting to do the TA on this one live yesterday, and we were discussing about the about this kind of the 4 hour gap scene over here on the 4 hour scene. Which is admittedly very difficult to see here. Let me just zoom on in a bit. So yeah, over there, but then there would have been a gap between this candle and this candle. But as you can see, it got filled in because that's the open up there and that's the close before, and there's a wee bit of a wick. So the open and the wick you can see being so far apart. That's how you would have known that there would have been a gap on the 4 hour time frame there. And then obviously that got filled in, and we were looking down the way and saying as well, like, what other gaps did we have, etc. And you can see on the time frames smaller than that indeed there was a gap that's in there at the 417 level, and that's obviously still visible right here. And we were talking about this in terms of the movements of this thing and saying, well, there's a couple of kind of not necessarily givens. It's not good to be arrogant when you're talking about the chart. Like one of the things which I do on the channel, you might have noticed by the way, is that I'm very humble about the charts or whatever, very humble about what we do here, and try to avoid ever using phrasing like predicting the future, stuff like that. So I don't like to say that there was something that was like predictable about the charts, but I mean it's actually it became quite predictable at that point, and we talked about the sort of the need then, if we were to break down past our lows over here, to come down and at least fill in that gap that was visible on the 4 hour time frame, which would have taken us down as low as around about 450, and then looking to push down hopefully then as far as this. Now you can see this little arrow in here, kind of, will that be the case? And well, it has been so far, so that's an interesting one. And I think there's a lot of lessons in that yesterday with regards to FOMO, the fear of missing out. So in this candle here, this buying exuberance that brought it all the way up towards 580 was indeed, being sold into, and then latterly sold right the way down again thereafter. And it's kind of, a lesson in FOMO, if you like, about that sort of thing. Right, okay, so woo. Right. So what else was there? Oh, of course. Let's see. Let's just pick a stock at random, pure random. Here's one. They're a manufacturer. No, they're not a manufacturer. They are a games retailer. But that's unfair. It's not really it. They're one of the largest, the fastest growing e-commerce platforms in the world. They've got a really strong brand that's become even more well known globally recently, to the extent that they've actually changed their branding in Canada to reflect the American branding, having of course now attained this global appreciation for the strength of their brand, and that is none other than our friend GameStop over here. GameStop, yes, is a company that you might not have heard of a couple of years ago, or you might have heard of kind of casually, but not been able to get access to because they don't have one in your country, etc. Well, that's GameStop. Ha ha ha! Right, and we had all this. We have all this drawn in here. We'll get rid of some of that. Is that possible? Get rid of that? Is that possible? Get rid of that? Can I just do a bit of that old magic? Nah. Right. This jobby here. Let me get rid of it. So we were talking yesterday about whether or not we could be in some sort of diamond shape, hoping to get some sort of big old. Ooh, did I delete more than I wanted to delete there? I'm not sure. So hoping to get some, to be in a position to rise up, rise up, and go on for bigger movements up the way, based off the idea of getting the same sort of movement towards the point at which we started consolidating, as we would maybe getting the same sort of measurement after we finished consolidating as we got towards the movement up. Trying to describe this way, and I don't know what the sentence way to put it around here. This rise up could be equal over here and be a similar rise up. That's what I'm talking about, and that's what we're trying to keep an eye out for. Now, the thing about it is, we also talked about how this could be in a diamond, and drew that around it, and then how it could come back and retest it. And it's done all of that, but rather than kind of keeping yesterday's ideas for today, I just want to kind of look at it more as if we were just typically talking about consolidating within a rectangle range or something like that, or talk about it as a big ascending triangle or something like that. Because here on the 15-minute time frame, we're not getting because it just doesn't look amazing, and I just would prefer to just talk about it in more simplistic terms anyhow. Really, essentially, is what I'm talking about in terms of that whole idea. So just like this idea of consolidation could be on the go, etc. We're back at $209 at the minute. I just want to see us staying about the $208.98, where we have that horizontal support and resistance, and moving on up here to where we had our previous kind of highs at. Now, we've done it several times already, to a greater or lesser extent, aiming towards that 220 zone. And if we can actually kind of close up above 216, then I feel like we're starting to move outside the bounds of this section of price action. Regardless of all that other stuff, I mean, we've already talked about the potential to get the same sort of leg up again after, etc., and how that could all be the case. But we're not actually proactively trading this thing, and instead of like always applying the lessons for across the market to this as if you're trading it proactively. It's just easier to talk about this one instead of from the broader point of view of where we are now in relation to the next horizontal support and resistance up above us, and where we are now in relation to that is below 216 and above $208, and that's what I want to see the prices operating in. Am I satisfied to what I can accept in terms of, okay, so that's not happening today, maybe this is happening today? If that were to be the case, would be for us to be down there between 201 and 208 instead. Is that sort of half of that kind of rectangle idea? That's what I was getting at, was saying I want to talk about it that way. We're coming up to 9 o'clock in the morning East Coast USA. We are coming up to 2 p.m. UK time, 3 p.m. Europe time, and that means the markets are about half an hour away from opening up, and currently the pre-market pricing on this one is $211.99. So we're already above that price point that we closed at yesterday. There'll be a little bit of a gap on the charts. Exciting stuff to look at in the range in the top half of this as we open up today's trading, and that's essentially what we're going to be looking at. Right to yo over here on AMC, the American entertainment movie classic, American movie classics. Is that right? Yeah, American movie classics. That's what it is. American movie classics. You know, like Marvel, Last Heroes Adventures, tights, men in tights with lasers and spaceships and shit. American classics. So they're a cinema chain. You might have heard of them because there was a big load of short interest on this and several other stocks, and the retail market came in and bought them up. That's kind of the narrative that people put out with regards to this one, and it's what happened. It's what we typically see happen on stocks all of the time. This one was done with a kind of, wow, let's do it ourselves type mentality, which has made all the difference with regards to retail sentiment and investor sentiment with this one as we sit up here in all-time highs. While it's not all-time highs with regards to, well, the all-time high, the sort of the honest sentence or whatever, which is obviously closer to the $72 region than where we are now, which is obviously a 50% increase from where we are now and all that sort of stuff, more than. So that's quite a distance away, fair enough. But what I really meant there in terms of this is that we have this structure that we're in up above, and it's a good deal away from the historical price of this thing. So going from the 30-minute time frame up to the weekly time frame, and then reviewing where that orange line is that we've been kind of hoping to stay above in terms of that 33 buck zone. And it's talking about the kind of the new paradigm of AMC, the AMC which is living above its prior highs. So like, looking at the charts here, this is the all-time chart on this thing, right? So this is on the weekly time frame, and just kind of drawing your eye to that middle section just here and just saying, well, there was this paradigm of AMC which existed down in this zone below the all-time highs that came in back in 2015 or whatever it was back over here, and then the prices, obviously they got this double top. We get this kind of clear look of things along this zone just here. Then everything dropped down, and then everything went up. And kind of the point that I'm making is that we're doing all right to stay relatively comfortable within this. If I just kind of extend my arm across and show you, then, hey, look, we're doing pretty well in this all-time high area. So, like, ooh, reaching between the nether here into the nether, showing you where the prices are. Ah, nice. Ooh. Okay, so that's where we are with this one, right? And that can be represented, I think, fairly easily with this with all this technical analysis that we're doing. And yeah, what this boils down to then is the section of price action that exists above this orange line. Remembering, of course, that this orange line is where we had that arm reaching across the nether there just a second ago. And when we came down to these lows on this one, what happened is, we had the high, and then we came in for this low here. And I said these lows. And what I meant by that is that we came in, we put a low in, and then we came back down and put another low. This was a month between these two lows over here. And the question was, of course, that we were talking about at the time was look for the bullish divergence. So just flick over to the 24-hour time frame so you get an idea of those two lows a bit better that we had, of course, over there, bringing up the oscillators down below and seeing that there was bullish divergence here, like the MACD making it very obvious. This low was the first low. This second low here, which is evidently much less redness, was not as low as was not as low as the previous red, and the price action itself was lower. So that's called bullish divergence. When you see that, it's a disparity between the between the price action and the oscillator down below. And given that those two sort of things, well, I mean, given that the second thing, the oscillator down below, is derived from the first thing, then you want to look for this correspondence between those two. When you don't see it, then you get a nice chance to turn things around and move up the way. Now, when you're looking at that, what you're going to be saying is, well, hey, look, I mean, we had this low, and there was this bullish divergence between the two. Can we actually push up and actually take out, say, for example, let's just say Right, let's just say, okay, bullish divergence, right, okay, there could be some resurgences in prices. That's to be expected because trending down here, in that section. That's what the mentality would be at the time. Will the prices actually, though, fail to take out this region where we had our previous high? Well, how about that? Just as a sort of simple qualifier, a little acid test. So reaching across the nether again here to show you kind of where we are. In fact, just forgive me, let me do this digitally instead. You can see that we're currently just below that. So if you want to have a question then with regards to the current situation and the questions and the situations with the pricing situations on this one, this is, we're just currently just above it, sorry. You can see that that's the line that we're talking about just here. We want to be above it. Now, this all coalesces together. And by the way, thanks to everybody for chopping in any donations that there've been so far. I think I maybe missed one earlier on. I'm not sure. There was a fiver for sipping on piss. Top of the morning to ya. Cheers, man. Thanks so much for that. And Daniel says dropping a lucky fiver as well. Very, very thankful for that. There is also a thing up above that says you can donate. And as well, I see that we've actually had a couple. We had one just one on there from Katie Babes, tipped $25. It's officially my last day of break. Thanks for a great summer. Catch you live whenever I can. Wow, you'll be missed, Katie Babes, but it's officially the last day of break. Well, hope you have fun going back to those smelly, snotty-nosed children. Good luck with all your teaching. I'm sure it'll be great for you to be back there and fulfilling that pedagogical need inside you to teach people and help give people a much better chance at having a brighter future. It's exactly what I do in the show here every day, part of the motivation for even living. So I'm sure you'll be excited in many ways to get back to that quality. Thanks so much, $25, really appreciated. So this green line that we've got here is obviously the paradigm line for us at the minute, just in terms of if you want to think about it that way, and it coalesces around a bunch of different stuff. So this is a 24-hour time frame, and you can see here on this time frame that we're right in the middle of the stop it, Rocky, right in the middle of the Ichimoku cloud here, and you can see the dance, the merry jig that we've done around about this little bit of support and resistance here recently, and that's as a result, of course, of the prior price action from over here being flung over to this here and creating this little knot that's going on here. And it's then to be anticipated that there might be some sort of inflections in around about this zone. Of course, now it would be nice in terms of looking at the future for us to be going up. Hey, this direction, a lot nicer than it would be for us to be going down that direction. I think that's fairly obvious and self-evident on the chart there if we're looking at these sort of cloud things and thinking about how, generally speaking, when we look back at the cloud, etc., and how this thing is formed out, that we don't actually spend time all the time living within the cloud all the time. It's not how this actually goes down. You can see here, you spend, but for the most part, you're outside of the cloud and looking at trending price action. So when you've got the cloud like this big chunk over here, you can say, hey, fairly strong trend on the go here, seeming that we could maybe find resistance at both of these points, yada yada. So what we're looking for, obviously, is to be experiencing that towards the top side rather than towards the downside, and the chances of us spending much time actually within this zone just purely going sideways is relatively low. Actually, it's relatively low. It's just an unusual thing to happen in terms of charts, so it's relatively low that would happen. And therefore then, in looking at this section, we know that there's that cluster, right? That cluster just there ahead of us. So if we were to drop down from 24 down to 1, which is actually a difference of 24 hours, go from the daily to the 1 hour time frame, it's actually a difference of 7 hours. We're going from 8 to 1. When you're looking at the US charts over here, because of course you guys in the United States, very, very smart, work smart, not hard. So you figured out that you don't need the markets to be open all day, unlike the UK hours, which are longer, etc. European hours longer than the American ones. You figured it out. You're smart. Right. Anyway, sometimes I'll make a joke and say, you lazy Americans, but actually it's correct. Right. So this is the cluster that we're looking at then in terms of the price action. You can see that we've actually come a little bit lower than our previous high. So when we went up to this high and came back down again, that we actually kind of just slotted back down to the 382 up here. And you can see we've probably come up here and not managed to Let me just draw this in from the top to the bottom here. Top to the bottom over here. You can see that we've come up to the, sorry, what am I thinking? Yeah, anyway, we come up towards the 618. I don't know what point I was trying to make there just before I started making that one. It went out of my head. Maybe it was this. Came up towards the 618 and back down again. Right, fine. And we haven't managed to to breach these prior highs. The 786 is up there at $46. The 886 is up there at $47, and the high is up at 48.25. We would be breaking the previous high if we were to be taking out the 786. I think is the component that I actually was going to go on and explain there in terms of this knot of price action just here, staying up above this cloud, as you can see, coming in and just riding along right below our green line. So I think that this fairly, while it took a long time here relative to the GME section we did just before to get to this point, essentially in terms of the chunk above and the chunk below that we're looking at with regards to the price action, it extends between these two zones, therefore $48 at the top side and $43 here just below us. Pre-market, by the way, currently trading at 44.16, so there'd be a little bit of a gap there, and then it gives you that little bit of a thrust down the way. So if it were to be filled, obviously, and then you're asking questions about how we survive over here. Down below, the warning that could see us coming back down to that 41 territory, 40 territory, etc., is of course this gap that exists over here on the 1 hour time frame and all the time frames really over there at $40. So that's kind of what we'll be looking to if we were to be pushing down, and that then we're kind of talking about in terms of like pivots and etc. in the market, then $39 on that one. And that's the story with these two, right? That's the story with these two, and that story is the story of really essentially not only just the opening prices, but the opening prices will kind of inform us of the story of the day, and this is of course the framework, if you like, for the story of the day to be filled in bit by bit as we go through it. So pretty, it's extensive stuff here, but this is why it's at such a high level. This is great learning for everybody, and this is just looking here at where we are right now with a primary focus essentially on the price action itself, just being concerned about where we are in relation to the overall market, the historical market, not the overall concurrent market as in competitors, but the market for AMC trading over. I meant it. Didn't mean it laterally. I meant it longitudinally. You know what I mean? Hey, Ken. Right. Bad Mama Jama 618 $5 VIH. We're at 409. Oh, crap, I forgot. Coming around to that in a second, Bad Mama Jamma. But hey, welcome to the Rocky Outcrop Show. If you're just joining me, I'm Rocky Outcrop. A little bit kind of kicking things a little can down the road a little bit here. Whoa, bit late today on the show. And it's 10 after the top of the hour. And we're going to take a quick look at some news, right? It gives everybody an opportunity to have a wee break, have a wee, and stick the kettle on and boil it up and get another cup of tea or something. Hey, Jimmy, do you want to stick the kettle on and have another cup of tea just here, right? So that's what everybody gets the opportunity to do. It's 10 after the hour. The markets are opening up at the bottom of the hour in 20 minutes, of course. So we've got 20 minutes to go. If in the UK, that's at 2:30. If they're in the United States, that's, of course, at 9:30 a.m. on the East Coast. America, such a huge country. Wow, all these different time zones. My favorite time zone is Peter Brandt's time zone. That's Mountain Rocky time zone. Of course, I love the Rockies, and that's got to be that mountain time zone. Am I right? Yeah, cool. Mike Fitzpatrick says $9.99. Hi, Rocky. Could you have a look at PSE? Post-stress financial experience, PSFE. Yeah, we'll take a look at some of that post-stress financial experience stock for you in a wee bit, Mike. But just now, for a couple of minutes, 5 minutes, we'll take a look at the news. Then we'll come back around and take a look at cryptocurrency markets maybe before the markets. What are we going to do? I'll do the cryptocurrency markets actually during market open. The GME and the AMC summary was so good there that we can just check in on those two charts every 5 minutes or so, every 5-10 minutes to see how they're getting on with regards to the stuff we've already discussed, right? So we can come back around and take a look at those requested stocks just after we take a look at the news. So here we have it, right? What do you think? Is this I'm not going to actually do a poll on this one, but it's a discussion topic for people to have themselves. With regards to this Theranos, and Elizabeth Holmes, the CEO of Elizabeth Holmes, a CEO of Theranos. And there's an actual article here discussing this same idea. Elizabeth Holmes' trial is also a referendum on the girl boss era. Something that I actually, when I saw that, I looked at this and I thought, "Whoa, that's this legit bait thing right here." I'm looking at this, wanting to hear about the lawyers talking about, about what's going on with the current case and everything else, and all the different counts of wire fraud, etc., that's been brought against her. But my eye read that sentence off to the side, and I just had to find out about what kind of women troll would be writing a crab in a bucket article like that. That's what I felt. I thought, as soon as I read that, I thought, I bet you any money that's written by a woman. There we have it, Sarah Todd, and she's acting like a crab in a bucket. Sorry, women watching this who don't agree with me here, but this is the reality of modern feminism, which was maybe still in the post for some people, not quite got round to them yet. But doing this sort of crap as a woman is actually bad for other women. It's bullshit. This trial is a trial about her as a person, who is an equal of any other person. She's done so much to prove that in the shit that she's done, and I don't think that there's any sort of referendum on girl boss era bullshit like that. There's no point to bringing in the genderizing this debate and really looking at it in that sort of a sense. Anyway, is the girl boss backlash sexist? Is Sarah's look at this one. The backlash to the girl boss is part of a necessary reckoning with the deficiencies of non-intersectional feminism. Central strains of the backlash are also inevitably kind of sexist. Well, F you, Sarah, for actually having piled shit onto this yourself, would be my own personal opinion on this, in terms of you kind of just scraping the barrel in terms of this sort of thing. Now, I think it's irrelevant as a man, right? I'm not going to go as far as to say that my opinions necessarily on that are representative of everybody. No, these are just my own personal opinions. But as personally somebody who sees women as being completely, absolutely, necessary, is in terms of like more or less equal representation. I say more or less because I think that there's things where you could have like tampon companies have more women on the board, and I'm not going to get my knickers in a twist about it. And then but I think more or less that it should be equal representation, 50-50 in all aspects of life, right? So this sort of thing, and talking about a referendum on the girl boss era, no, I don't think so. I think that this is actually a vestigial opinion piece by somebody who's still trapped in third wave feminism. It's time that they realized that Greta Thunberg exists. For example, speaking of which, by the way, she's had the cheek to say that she doesn't regard Scotland as a world leader on climate change. And I thought, F you, Greta, you 18-year-old. You're no longer a child. I can say this. F you, Scotland, we are a world leader. And and the problem is here for me is that when you're talking about macro shifts in the world and talking about being a world leader and about what it is to be a world leader, well, economic and might and the ability to maintain infrastructure, etc., and not just turn off the lights, turn on something new, is actually fundamental as being a world leader. And it's very, very difficult. This is the problem with the climate debate change. Now, I think we need to take extremely serious action about things, but I don't think that this sort of opinion is actually necessarily all that fresh and inspiring to anybody. She said that she would only attend the thing, this meeting that's coming up, if it was, what did she say? Her opinion on this was she was not 100% sure that she would attend COP26 talks in November, and that her decision would be based on whether the event was safe and democratic. And it's just like, cool, okay, you've got to that point, Greta. I'm sorry, right? You've got to that point, Greta, where the childish freshness has worn off. You're 18 now, and I remember what it was like to be 18, and I don't think I would have been so wouldn't have sort of pussyfooted around by saying, "Oh, I'll go to this thing if it's safe and democratic." No, that's kind of the childish naivety of what it's like in the world, I'm afraid, Greta. Actually, what if you look and you'll see that the people in Oxford's or in the circus in London, not circus, but in the place in London, right in the streets, that are protesting and chaining themselves to vehicles, etc., aren't talking about things like, "Oh, I'll only go down to there and chain myself to a bus." and in the middle of the street and wear a nappy and piss and shit myself for the next 3 days if everything's safe and democratic. So I don't know. It's like you're kind of losing it's like, William Wallace. I mean, like, let's just see what age was William Wallace? And that's going to be good enough, right? 35. Okay, so you've got 30. You've got that amount of time. Even me myself, Greta, even I myself feel like Margaret Thatcher would have so loved to have labelled me back in the 80s as a failed man. Not quite using Margaret Thatcher's definition of living at home with your parents, because I stopped doing that when I was 16. So I definitely kicked Margaret Thatcher's definition of success and head in thoroughly. But in terms of what she was kind of really getting at, in the sense that I've been alive for longer than Jesus, and I haven't actually revolutionized the world quite yet. So Greta, time is getting on. Clock is ticking. Speaking of which, it is 17 minutes past the hour. We're going to take a look at those suggestions, what came in from our pals over there. Thanks so much, by the way, for saying that I'm looking fresh today earlier on, Bibam Majama. I don't know why my donations thing and all that doesn't work so well in those Streamlabs. If they have been working and showing up throughout this, and I've just not noticed because I'm a dum-dum, then that's cool. But if they haven't been working, then send your answers in the back of a postcard. Bad Mama Jama said to look at VIH earlier on. After they took a look at that, we're looking at PSFE, which I'm assuming is post-stress financial education, is what that ticker must stand for. VIH. One of the things that you do in America, by the way, and this is one of the discussion points that we'll have when we look at over time, we always talk about this, and it's to do as well with the sort of the taxonomy and language of trading, is you'll use the word names to refer to companies. In the UK, we generally just simply refer to companies as companies, etc., stuff like that. But in America, you talk about names, and it's interesting. It's like, oh, I'm going to put my money in some names today. What names are you looking at? Well, the names that I'm looking at over here right now is VIH. Oh, VIH, thanks for letting me know the QSIP on that name. And it's like, what? Right. Okay, what companies you looking at? Aye, what's the ticker on that one? Cool, nice one. That's the UK style of saying it. The American sort of Jobsworth style of saying it was like, what name are you looking at? What's the tick? What's the QSIP? Right. So cool. So well, here we have VPC Impact Acquisition Holdings. What's this? This is a SPAC? Is it news in the world at the minute about SPACs? By the way, if you want to talk about news, interesting stuff, dragging on here, so I better not take too long. But the SPACs are in an ever increasing environment of increased liquidity, competing for the best opportunities, and a lot of people at the minute in feeling this anxiety with regards to the negative delta in the economy, which could happen should we see, which is anticipated by a lot of economists out there, some decline is increasing this, is making a really incredibly competitive environment for SPACs, and that they as well that necessarily they're not actually really that good for shareholders currently, which is an obscure way of looking at it, because of course it's an access route for shareholders, but it's this idea of good for shareholders in terms of what's really going on in the markets. Incidentally, by the way, while we're here talking about this extremely top level stuff for the sort of niche part of the audience that might actually want a wee taste of high level economic financial news chat from time to time, there's an interesting dynamic in the world at the minute with regards to that high increased amounts of that extraordinary high levels of liquidity, looking for those gains that we're actually seeing later stage companies getting the investment. So we're looking at this idea nowadays of and I saw it was quite an interesting piece. It was put out there earlier on Yahoo News about this as well, with regards to the so-called unicorn companies receiving a lot more of that investment money than the other ones. Now, unicorn companies or names, maybe I should say, are those ones which have got are valued at over $1 billion, which of course 20, 30 years ago was like a unicorn thing, right? Nowadays, of course, they're far more common. I thought it was an interesting little take on it than that. And they're receiving a lot of this investment, at these latter stage companies. So it's interesting one. Maybe there's some dynamics that could be interesting there in terms of the economy and the fear factor for this. because of that, if you think about that money flow in terms of the economy as being sort of so top heavy towards these so-called unicorn companies, but much of this big money companies have also got antiquated systems as well. That one particular sort of financial vehicle's own assessment of it at the minute with how they're approaching their investment portfolio is to look at sort of these tertiary companies that might actually fulfill that need to actually bring that value to these companies by increasing their e-commerce presence. And we're seeing that kind of working overall massively internally but for GameStop with its recent move towards e-commerce. But we're also seeing that there's an increased interest in companies which will actually help transition companies towards that e-commerce world. So on that front as well, just to bring things from being extremely high level, talking about that economy, talking about where the money is, talking about the risks in the economy, and then ways to try and sort of mitigate that by investing in these tertiary level ones that can add value to where investors are seeking to put their money at the minute, given the sort of delta risk towards potential downside, and that's why they're investing in these so-called unicorn companies. I actually wanted to give a shout out to Peter Huer, who actually does exactly that as a consultant. Peter Huer, my first follower. Well, he's not officially the very, very first person to have hit subscribe to the channel. You've got the likes of Jamie just sat over there, who's probably the guy who did that. But really within that first few days of me doing YouTube, he found the channel. He's been with us ever since. He still watches from time to time. Shout out to you, pal. And it's good that you actually do that business. I really hope that there's actually some opportunity that comes knocking your direction with regards to anything I've just been talking about. Hopefully you get an increased look from people looking to kind of consolidate and contract in terms of their business operational costs while still maintaining, of course, their margin. And hopefully then that results in this move towards mobile and internet. 23 minutes after the hour, we will actually take a look at these stocks, but we've got less than 7 minutes to do so before we flick back over and see markets opening elsewhere. On this one, suggested by Bad Mama Jama here a wee while ago now, to be honest, was VIH, and it stands for VPC Impact Acquisition Holdings. And I don't actually know what this is, but I'm going to assume that it's a SPAC. We're seeing a relatively low level of liquidity in terms of trading this thing. I wonder what that means in terms of what it's actually up to. We want to kind of know. At times you want to know why things are on the go, like just so terrible, really, in terms of where things have been. But really, relatively speaking, this is actually a new enough venture, having only started up at the end of last year, and its prices from its all-time highs down to its lows are around about 60% or so decline in there. So it's not necessarily so bad in terms of the decline, not the relative decline, not the Fibonacci decline, not from the lows to the highs and all that, because obviously you're looking at near enough 100% decline. I'm talking about 60% decline from its highs to its lows, roughly, in terms of, so you get that point. Anyway, you've come down here, and maybe this thing's found, perhaps at this point, a degree of value, kind of getting back to where it started off at, really, more or less, where it started off at. So zooming on in here, then I think that while it's had a horrific decline, it could be, value to be had in this one. Looking at the volume, by the way, we're seeing that there isn't a massive increase in volume in terms of the consistency of it. There has been an increase in volume, however, here, but it's still in a relatively volatile atmosphere where you're getting large spikes followed by small trading volume thereafter. Does look like we're putting in a bottom over here. Has this got classic divergences on it as well? At this low, it does indeed. Classic bullish divergences at the low on that one. We've had a bunch of flash on here. Interesting stuff. Wonder if how these worked out. So there was a flash over there on about the 26th of what was that month? July. Was that right on that saying that? Yeah, July. God, I had to read that 3 times. And we've got something coming up to where we could have one now. So I'd look out for that sort of fulfillment of that in the future, if there was to be one. So where was this one here that was back in the 26th or so? Over here. Excellent. So we had the candles, the prices were about 989 or so. They dropped all the way down to about 982. Not a massive movement here, but as you can see, this thing is just like that, and then back up again to fulfill that. Now, it did actually trend up the way, so it's kind of interim, but it just seems to be kind of spooky the way that works. Here we have us. Oh yeah, brilliant. Thanks so much. Here we have us at the beautiful round number $10 price point. Everybody loves to see $10 or 10 on anything, and that's pretty decent. Where does that leave us though then? Because we want to see, I suppose, sugar. I'm really running out of time here. Oh, about to sneeze too. Fine. Looking up. Well, I've never really tried that. Looking up makes you sneeze. Ah, right. Oh, okay. Steer into the sneeze. So do I want to look at where that would be? I mean, the Fibonacci retracement point in terms of saying, right, long term, turning things around is obviously miles away. Just, not going to make a big deal about it. Somewhere around about $12. Need to see a $2 increase in price, obviously a 20% increase in price. Now, is that conceivable? Absolutely is. Want to see volume kicking in here and see something actually start to happen. In terms of then where we are just now, we had bullish divergence. We've moved up past those previous highs, at which point we've done it without bearish divergence. There's this warning here in the flash, kind of like that, we could see something happen like where we move up or down or whatever, and then go right back to where we left off at. That would be a retest probably during trend and price action, or a reconfirmation that we're moving outside of the zone. That's pretty decent. This looks actually like it could be quite good as a general rounding bottom. We're obviously looking for this to get continuation up the way. Having not been in this already, I wouldn't probably buy into it unless it was down there towards the 990s area. Looking for a sort of 1% discount on this thing. And then, well, I say this about the volatility of the thing. It's quite interesting. Like those lows at 999, the extremely high candles up there at 1050, etc. Though they do represent big movements in prices. You're talking about 5%, etc. It's not horrific, So yeah, possible. Right, cool, decent looking chart. So it could be a decent one, buddy. But we could also see a few percent discount on this one if you're waiting to get in. It could blast up, of course it could, but there's a DMI there. Would say it would come back if it did. 989 PSFE. PSE, post stress financial education. No, it's PaySafe. Damn. Well, I did just make up that other one, so I suppose it was not so likely to be that. PaySafe, a company which has keeps your money safe so long as you're not an investor in the company, in which case it's going to be going down since March. Right, yeah. So again, the same sort of idea in terms of what I introduced. No, it's not. That's the 1 hour time frame. Got something better. 24-hour time frame, start this thing off, get a bit of history on this thing. So yeah, in terms of that whole chat that we had with regards to the AMC chart, just got a minute here, so I have to be quick on this one. You can see if this is your highs up in this region, you shot a line off to the right over there, that would very much be above where the current price action is. We've dropped back down a wee bit, come back down to this previous high, but actually pushed a little bit further down. So there's a couple of kind of little warnings to us in that sense. How far have we come from this high from that thing? I feel like that there's a real obvious need to measure in that low. Give me that wick. Where is it? Let's take it from that one. It's not exact, but it's close enough, and I'm tired. Right to the 236. Oh wow, cool! Look at that for an example of potential. Now, this is obviously not always going to be the same when you look at different charts, different layouts. Over here on the linear chart, you're looking at coming down to 236. That's actually come all the way down on the linear chart to the 618 golden pocket. Worth pointing out that you could actually see the prices dropping all the way down to sort of the 720, 750 area as a fulfillment of that. If we're going to see volatility in around about this section here of the 236 on the logarithmic chart. Something that's worth pointing out, I tend to just focus on the logarithmic and talk about the bigger, broader moves, in terms of the actual value that's being swapped around and the sort of the real gains and losses kind of measured as percentages, to make that nice and neat. But that's what we're looking at there. 420 tripped by Carissa. Thank you so much, by the way. Asking about the DTCC margin rule going into effect tomorrow, and we're also going to be got a 420 coming in from Bad Mama Jama as well. Thanks so much for your cool ass tips, by the way, ladies and gents. And the markets are now actually open here. Anyway, this one here at the 236 offers up a decent buying opportunity. Like I said, there's the chance that there's a potential for this to drop down to these lows, 750, etc. Just in terms of fulfillment of the Fibonacci's on the linear scale. So that's just quite keeping things nice and simple. We are obviously in a downward trend. If we're looking down here and saying, well, between the last two lows, maybe there isn't any divergence. Between the last couple, let's see on the MACD, yeah, there is this divergence. There is divergence there, but it's still, successfully pushing around the prices. What about that little flash on the DMI over there? Did that get fulfilled yet? Let's have a look here. It's an opportunity for us, maybe. But just to be aware of, it's 16th of August. 16th of August over here. Not quite. So we've still got that. So yeah, I'm expecting that we will test $10 again. Maybe, so if we do push on down for another leg, I'm looking down to 750, maybe 720 would be my stop loss on that one. 750, we love that you get in on it. We could go up from here, but I would be taking profits at $10 because I'm thinking, this is a negative market until such times we've actually turned things around. We don't really have like the heinous, disgusting bullish divergence is just floating along towards the downside so far. But we have got this key structural area, and in terms of the psychology of where we are, looking for that support and turnaround. And this is an area where you would anticipate that markets could potentially turn around at. We know that we're slightly below our previous highs up here a couple of times, and those come in closer towards that $10 area, which gives you that idea that we might retest that and bounce off it again if we were to do so. So I'll drop that in as a line at $10 just so we can see $10. Boom there, and you can see obviously that's below us. That's where that flash would take us to. That's would be a fulfillment of that gap that's up above. That would be my desired next trade on this one. If I saw it take it out the prices of 820 or 8 something like that, I would wait and to see if I could get in at 750. But otherwise, I'd be looking to try and trade this thing up towards $10 with the anticipation of taking profit there and hoping that we can just go on and just forget about doing anything else. I prefer the logarithmic chart to the linear chart, and I'm not looking to get fulfillment of the golden pocket 618 and close enough there within 3 or 4 or 5% of that is going to be fine for me anyway. So we've done that more or less. So I'm happy enough to see this happen, but we could easily push down, and those percentages are big percentages to be moving. The difference between 833 or so or 8 or whatever and 750 is 10%, and in and of itself that could be your trade. So that's what you're going to look to. Cool. So let's just take a look at the GME charts. I've covered the requests that have come in so far, and we've already discussed what we want to see happening on the charts over here on our favorite GME stock, and we're going to be able to bring up the charts here, and for the next 5 or 10 minutes, the next 2 minutes, we can talk about the question that came in from Carissa as we admire the charts in the background. How about actually I pop on the dual screen jobby and we can get AMC on the right as well. So interesting that I've got 2 charts. It's funny that there's this thing on TradingView, a little sort of interesting sort of thing. I don't know what the dealio is with it. Maybe someone like FU will know out there when they've spent a great deal of time digging around in all of the bowels and intestines of this thing. But you'll notice at the minute I've got 2 charts up, and that they're both GameStop, and that they're both saved to my layout Rocky Outcrop. And I've gone on the dual screen chart, and I've got 2 different layouts here. I've got different support and resistances and drawings up on one to the other. And I'm not sure, did I do these on this small screen just here as part of what's going on, or did I do them somewhere else and they've appeared up here? I wonder where they came from. Interesting stuff, and it's interesting to see that this lines up perfectly with these with this kind of little box that's drawn around the prices here as well recently. So we can see, this is the same chart. That's my box over there on the left. This one just doesn't have the Jimoku cloud. It is the same chart. It just doesn't have the Jimoku cloud. Why did nobody tell me? Why are you so stupid? But where's my Fibonacci in that case and all the drawings? I mean, that's weird, right? And the sort of support and resistance pattern. This is weird. Anyway, that's weird. Right, cool. We figured that one out together. Nice little trip down sort of weird brain lane there. Circus lane, says Jimmy. Right, anyway, bringing up AMC. American movie classics. American movie classics like Black Widow from Marvel, etc. American movie classics. These guys. You can see why they've moved away from saying that about talking about themselves that way and talking about AMC instead, and trying to brand AMC as the thing. Like AMC, yeah, AMC, it sounds great. It's like MGM. Yeah, MGM. What's MGM? Massive, gigantic Marmaduke or something. That's what MGM stands for. I don't know. And it's got a picture of a lion. It roars. HMV. What's HMV? HMV, Rickers? Huge, massive vinyls, huge massive vinyls. That's what they put them on, yeah? HMV, huge massive vinyls. So that's why AMC is moving towards that. AMC, American Movie Classics, Black Widow, whatever, yeah. Okay, come on. All right, so 5-minute time frame here just to see where we are. Starting off the day with a nice rise up. Excellent, up to that $44 price point. Can we kick around about there? Hey, it would be nice, wouldn't it, to not fill in this gap down there at $43.90, to not move down, to see the prices drop down $1.60. It would be nice to not see the prices drop down $1.60, wouldn't it? So we'll hope for that then, eh? That's what we'll hope for, right? Sound. And over here on Jimmy, which is the name of my brother. How amazing is it that mum and dad decided to call Jamie GameStop Corporation? I mean, we all call it's funny, but his birth certificate and his passport and all that stuff, they all say GameStop Corporation on there, right? But we call him it's a thing we do in Scotland. It's a nickname thing. Anyway, Jamie, short for GameStop Corporation. It's funny when you go through. When Jimmy's applying for something, or he's like signing at the gym, getting his membership or whatever, and they're like, "What's your name?" And he says Jamie, and then they say, "Where's your ID?" And then he looks at the ID and it says GameStop Corporation on the ID, and then they say, "But you said your name was Jamie," and he says, "I know, it's just short for GameStop." It's funny stuff. Funny stuff. Anyway, having gone through that our whole lives. It bears meaning now to look at the 5-minute chart on GameStop Corporation. You can see that the current price of this $214. Wow, brilliant! Keep it going. Right now, so like I say, it would be nice to not fill in these gaps. Okay, I want to see them not fill in these gaps. We are aware that there's a sort of ranges that we could be operating in. Did I point out a topside one on AMC or not? I think I certainly talked about that green line there. Orange? Karl Popper, eat your heart out. So yeah, that's right. It's a reference to psychology. What we have here is no upper line, it looks like. I don't know if I put one in there, but I've got a couple kicking about up there towards $46 area. Is that what I'm looking to? Are we looking at that? I feel like, over here, of course, we had the same sort of effect on the go, but we came back down and did actually retest the gap area itself. So will we see a test then in a sense of that 43.96 area at the top end of the gap instead of the 43.45 over here with regards to GME? Will we see 211 as a test of it? Now, a couple of times already, even today so far, we've been up at 216. That's the top end of that range. So this is what we were talking about. So we got before the show in the technical analysis section. We know where you do that thing where you're analyzing stuff. Carissa tipped 420 and asked, "Do you think the DTC margin rule going into effect tomorrow will make a difference, or same old, same old?" Well, yes. I think that it's going to be a mixture, and the same that largely same old, same old. What's the story behind same old, and why do people say that same thing? Yeah, so this sort of thing. We're pushing up above that line. It would be good if we could do it more in terms of GME. Just here, beside my face here. This AMC chart's so zoomed out. All the AMC people out there are feeling marginalized, not represented. Let's get that. No pun intended. It's funny that quite often there are puns intended, but we'll not blow smoke up our own arses. Right. So yeah. That was a good one. Oh my god, the charts are moving in exact. Let's do this. Let's see if I can get some more people to come in and watch the show here at the minute. I will talk about DTCC for a wee while. Brilliant. And we'll talk about how these two charts are exactly the same. Exactly the same. It's funny actually because essentially they are. So that's pretty cool, pretty neat. It's nice to see this in action. Right. So. And later on, we can talk about how AMC and GME obviously move differently, and we talk about how this is a function of markets and the movements of money, etc. It's interesting to see it happening here, though. Right, DTCC new rules. So first off, a lot of the big players have been on these rules essentially already. A lot of them will have had their own compliance risk departments, etc., having identified that this is a necessary thing to get with already, and I've covered that off. A lot of people will find that they didn't necessarily anticipate what could be going on if there's big movements in other markets. Then of course it could also, in OTC stocks, for example, it's a part of it. And that was something I was going to talk about yesterday with regards to Rolls-Royce. Rolls-Royce having had contact or some this guy Eng or Eng or ENG or English for I don't know what his name is, but it's ENG. who's a portfolio manager, asset manager, whatever, at one of these funds that is invested in them, said that he would like to see them refresh their board. And fair enough. And we were talking about Rolls Royce and saying that there's this sort of thing. Anyway, this is an OTC stock when you talk about RICE and you're trading that in the United States, and you can. So what am I trying to say here about this thing? Yeah, because of the increased volatility. If there's increased volatility because of good stuff happening on that stock, then maybe surprising things happen for people in terms of at organizations that haven't fully done the work. They'll have known about it coming in for quite a while though, so it's kind of on them. Do I think it'll make a difference? I'm not too sure. What? But to help people in that, yeah, and it's prepared. I mean, the article that you can bring up about it, is the headline on it is, "Are you prepared or are you ready for new?" And the communication that we read on the kind of if you like, the layperson outside thing is like, "Oh, look at this, this is news, like it's for us and it's going to change the markets for us." But the question is it going to be same old, same old? The implications being like the rule breakers get to keep on breaking the rules. The rich get rich and the rich get richer, and that keeps happening and all that sort of stuff. And really, there's kind of overlooking the aspect that these rules were, and these articles and this communication, etc., is for the companies. It's for the organizations to help them to be prepared. This is why they're talking about it. So it means it's more likely. Well, it means it's more likely, but it's not like it's not. It means it's more likely, but it's not more likely that a company that's got $30 billion worth of assets under management is going to go bust over some of the rule changes. Like, these are the things which don't make those companies go bust because they're predicted, like they're black swan stuff, whatever. So like the idea of it being actually having that big an impact on anything is overblown. It's quantifiable, aye, because of that. Exactly. Anyway, this is the business of risk. It's the business of these things. This is exactly what their business is. It's doing this sort of stuff. I mean, not to say that there's not idiots out there that'll make mistakes and things will go wrong, but to say whether or not that'll have broad-reaching implications across the markets is another thing entirely. Feisty Goats, Rocky Outcrop, AMC target yesterday was 46.46, and if it didn't break, you said it may go to $35. All right, cool. I said yesterday something about AMC. The target was 46.46. Brilliant. So there's 46 up there roughly. And if it didn't break that, it could go to $35. What would the implications of that be? Oh, because that could happen. Sure, it could. Yeah, sure, it could. Yeah, sure, it could. That's totally true. Good point. Thanks so much, Feisty Goats, for reminding me. That's obviously looking at things that's not me saying to people, if the prices go to 46 or thereabouts. I mean, we're 90 cents away from that. We're 60 cent, whatever. We're within $1 of that target easily right now. Then they don't get to 48 and close up above there, then we're definitely going to 35. No, I was talking about the oscillations in the markets and saying about how these things could be anticipated, and what the significance of not breaking the high is, and that the significance thereby being that it would only be kind of measurable at the point at which you'd really kind of gone past back down below the 43 level where our previous low was, and taking that out to say, well, hey, look, things are changing around from this point of view. Obviously, we could go up towards 46, not break it, put in a higher low, and continue to do what we're doing overall, perhaps even filling in this gap here at 43 before going on up, etc., or even filling in the gap at $40 before going up, etc. We're looking for that. We're looking for trend and price action. This low that we put in yesterday, I don't think is substantial enough that if we actually went down and tried to really test this, that it would last. I mean, if that were to happen, I would anticipate us going towards $40, and those are big movements away. You're talking about, this is me talking about how the conditions in the markets would change after something's moved 15% in price. This isn't talking about or whatever. So this isn't and then where the next 20% move in price could come from if we've moved one direction or another. So it's not as clear cut as to say just that it's not as simply put as just that. But by the same token, as you might have seen from my reaction when you said it to me, and I interpreted what you meant by what I'd said, but no, what I meant. as you quoted back to me yesterday, and I was so having a conversation with myself there, essentially, I would say, yeah, all right, no, yeah, you're right, yesterday, Rocky Outcrop, and today, Rocky Outcrop adds in that further detail, but it's the same story. Don't disagree with me at all. I never do. It's just, it's how I roll. Cool. So, if you're looking for a ticker to check out, I'd love to get some quality TA on rail at Rocky Outcrop. Right, cool. So, nice one. We discussed this before we started. We talked about how there was this range, that we talked about his prices being down here. We talked about how it would be nice if we didn't fill in that gap, when it's happening in the range for it to express itself between its 216. Now, the question is, the gap remains on the chart down below there. This is the range. We found a bit of resistance at the top there. Are we going to get support, for instance, in here at this Ichimoku cloud in the 5-minute time frame in around about $213? The same equivalence, obviously, if I draw in a Fibonacci retracement tool and just say, are we going to find that are we going to break the 236 Fibonacci retracement or not? And that's at $214. So it's the same equivalent chat always. Technical analysis always boils back down to the same sort of general thing, and it's the same sort of thing as well with everything. It's always the same thing. Right, sweet. So we got a question come in there, and yes, totally we can do that. Let's take a look at whatever it was that you asked for, though. What did you say? Rail? R-A-I-L. Rail. What is that? Is that like Amtrak or something? Rail. Hurry up, internet! Oh, I forgot. I was supposed to be... Oh, I'm so surprised I'm streaming right now. This is great news. Excellent. Damn it, though. As a warning, the stream rate is lower than recommended bit rate. Let me know in the chat if it's doing that thing where it cuts and you miss out on 10 seconds of me talking and then it's the next sentence. Because some of the shit that I'm doing is great. In fact, I should start recording this because I'm not recording it at the minute. And my thing might be buffering bad and screwing me over. I'm supposed to be on my phone internet right now, but I'm on my other internet and it's working, which is unusual. Right, sound. Even though it was the norm for the previous 11 months. Rail, that's what you asked for, and I want to make this one chart. That's why I duplicated my screen there. Perfect. Right, rail, R-A-I-L, rail. Come on, R-A-I-L, rail. And these oscillators are way too fucking fat on the screen, aren't they? Way too fat. Rail. Oh, this is not. This is Freight Car America Inc. Ah, Freight Car America. They're the guys. They're like they're where you go if you want to have a life-changing epiphany montage, right? That's Freight Car America, the life-changing epiphany montage. Trustier endpoint protection has important updates waiting for. Restart now, restart later. Trustier. I've never heard of them before. Uh-oh. Well, I'll leave that bug, Trojan horse virus off to the side for now and deal with that after we finish streaming. Wish me luck. Trust off rail. Yes, Freight Car America. Yes, the guys. It's quite simple. You just send off a single payment by check to by post to Freight Car America Inc. Syracuse NYC. It's great. It'll make it to them. And then what they do is they give you an opportunity. You get to choose various outfits, like a baseball outfit from when you were a kid or whatever. They put you on a freight car. They give you a stick with a knapsack and a few belongings bundled together in the back, and you get to go across America, reading books about and stuff like that, and choose optional extras like, do you want to be in a carriage with a guy that's got a guitar singing songs and stuff like that? Just, it's great. Anyway, that's them. It's brilliant, good company, exciting holidays and stuff like that. I wonder then how much this could be affected by the sort of return to work and the economy kind of trying to re-engage a little bit here. Can see that, I guess so. Maybe the I'm just going to have to give up on that. I'm going to give up on that analogy at the minute because I'd rather do TA without trying to fit this little rise up into a story about post-pandemic being able to share box cars and rail cars with other passengers, and that's led to them making better money. But I would have done. Under other circumstances, I would have kept that analogy going all day. Analogy? Joke. Right. Oh, we made it right bang into the 618 from all time. It's so weird how this happens so frequently, isn't it? Anyway, so that's what happened with that one. That's the longer term trend. Stretch that out a wee bit. This is, of course, our ambitions currently, as well as laid out with that Fibonacci retracement there. A lot of ways that you could look at this. I think that it's quite fair to make the point that this, of course, could be an ascending triangle. As you can see here, the range of which being a typical Fibonacci movement, as we can see here. So if we were to go up, it would push us not the full way as it happens up towards that other thing, but it would give us a chunk. It would give us a chunk. It would give us a chunk of a movement into the 618 golden pocket at least to put in a higher high. So it gives us a movement. Doesn't give us into that zone. Now, if we had broken out of it earlier on when we were tying to before, it would have pushed past the 618, etc. So anyway, most of a movement here of this range here. That's what we're looking for, and then we could be looking up towards the sort of 860 to $9 region if we do get a positive break on this. Now, positive bullish market trend in price action towards the top side, you would anticipate, even though this is a statistically bearish pattern, that it would fail with a movement towards the top side and continue the macro bullish movement. But you never know with these things, because statistically in textbooks and everything else, they say that that's not what actually is going to happen. They just talk about it from a sort of statistics. But anyway, there you go. So we can see that we pushed a little bit. Interesting note here, this is fairly regimented and then pushed a little bit higher here. So when we're looking over at the oscillators below, and we look at the interaction just here as well, is there anything interesting about that last push up the way in terms of its movement? I mean, because you can see it on the MACD, and this is what I wanted to point out. Seeing a normal market movement up like this, you're going to be looking at it and asking, well, are we seeing divergences? And if you were looking at the lows in terms of how it's narrowing out, so that it actually the lows. So while it's going up towards the top side, and it drops back down, the retracements are actually shallower, and then you form in what forms like a wedge on the charts, and you're looking at these points here and these points here. It's the peaks and the lows for divergences in your chart, right? That's what you're doing. And in this price action just here, then you'd be looking at these highs along the way and saying, are any of these bearishly divergent? So we can anticipate a movement down the way that perhaps extends further than the typical range in this thing, which, by the way, is 30%. So it's huge, right? That's what you'd be looking for, and you'd find them as well. Like, oh, up here, this was bearishly divergent. Oh, big movement down, got full 30% there, big movement down. So okay, so you were looking for that 30% move if you got the bearish divergence. So you were looking for it again here. And what happened instead is we pushed on up, and as you can see on the MACD here, that you got these divergences that were coming in, ding, 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 ding. Then occasionally you get a movement like this, and then you get ding, 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 ding. It's an interesting one. I just thought this is why I'm taking the time out to point this out here. So this is the one that we saw just here in the MACD. And looking up here, that's where you see we pushed outside that zone. We didn't get that divergence. Now, interestingly enough, there is, of course, a distinction on the go here with regards to the RSI. You can see that kind of overall, we've been rolling over in this territory here. And actually, now we've come back down below I think that's almost like a World War I helmet. Anyway, we came back down below the neutral line here, and that's giving you that feeling like, hey, if we were to actually take out any of our structural market areas just now, then we could be trending, and where we'd be looking to would be for a significant retrace, perhaps to the 618, something that's just not untypical on this stock, as we can see drawing this high up to that area. And you can see that if you're to look towards the fake out territory of this ascending triangle, in this zone just here, that it actually covers the movement between the lower area here, where there's that where we've got that 50% Fibonacci retracement point, and the 236 zone. That's covered by that fake out territory. If we did actually do that and take it as a downward movement, then, well, I think we could be looking to, beautiful, look at that, look at the way that worked out, to the 618, which was obviously the point that I was trying to make before, right? So what am I really saying here? Because a lot of people find that hard to interpret. Well, it's quite simple, actually. I'm saying that if this is, what I'm saying is quite simple. I'm saying that if this is an ascending triangle and it's going to continue the overall trend we've seen towards the top side, then what we're looking for is, have we got divergences along the way? Well, occasionally we've managed to avoid it, and with this last sort of movement up at this point, we actually got rid of it on the MACD despite having it boiling over on the RSI. And we could look for this to have this measured move, which is this range that I'm pointing at with my fingers right now. And by the way, for people who are listening along audio, I'm doing this sort of looking at the chart with my, like the weatherman, and pointing at it. So this is extremely visual, and I apologize for you that can't see the screen right now. But anyway, shout out to Corey. Get to work, boy. This range here, then, that could take us up towards those targets, putting us back into the 618, but also just higher than we were previously and continuing to have a trend. Now, we could also then pull back from that point. Now, that means that you can actually manage your trade by saying that if we actually take out this area here, where we have the downward sloping green line resistance, that we could, or the supply line, that we could be looking to then move up for that break. You might get a retest, you might get various different things, but you're going to choose these managements of your own trades yourself. This is the idea of, like, if we to do that, then that's where we could be looking to, and there's a lot of good reasons for it. But we're going to be managing our risk as well with any ideas here if we were to break past this zone identified by this line, which is the 50% Fibonacci retracement tool, which we'll come back around to looking at in a second, and this 236 here, which is the retracement from the lows we had from just below my ass over here up to the highs that we just experienced. And if we were to break out from that, then the move which would be equivalent dollar movement would take us up towards those highs at that 618 and put in just a slightly shallow, definitely bearishly divergent high in at that point, with the way that this is working from. If we break from here to there, that's what will end up happening. If we break down the way, that same distance of a movement will actually take us all the way down to the 618 golden pocket down here, right? Which is, of course, similar to the golden pocket that we just experienced. And then just to put that all into the context of the overall macro, again, back on the back on the macro, that what we've done so far is we come up towards that point just there, which is the 618 golden pocket. This is, of course, being the all-time highs. This, of course, being the all-time lows. And then we've descended since to that point there, which is the 50% area. And that if we were to take out all those, if we were to go in for a retest all the way back down and not invalidate this Fibonacci, so we want this Fibonacci here to remain a valid Fibonacci retracement where we're all happy, and ultimately look up for targets of $400 on this one, which is absolutely possible in a really strong bullish market. It is possible to aim for $400, which, could be 2027 price of this thing, for example, right? That's what I'd be looking to. But in the meantime, while we're trending, and this doesn't happen overnight, this is price action of the last year and a half. This is where we could be looking to, and this is the pivot for it. And we want this Fibonacci here to remain valid. And for it to remain valid, it would have to do this simple thing: not take out the 236 in here. And the 236 lines up with the 618 of this one, and the 50% lines up with the 236 of this. Taking out the 50% validates this Fibonacci, and it'd be fair to look to there. Now, you could look for other areas. Shut up! And the area that I would look to in the meantime would, of course, be 343, where you have the 382, where we have the 382 of this one. That would be where I'd look to on that. Incidentally, that lines up with the 50% area. So we're seeing a perfect alignment in the Fibonacci's at this point here for this market to be measured perfectly. Brilliant. Cool. So that was interesting, wasn't it? I think that was a bit different. Back around again to the top of the hour already. Oh my goodness gracious me. Only 30 minutes left on the show. Can you believe it? That we're only got 30 minutes left on the show. Well, that's where we are. When Ambo, exactly. Meow. I am not a cat. Good to see you there. Daniel Groves. I come from Baltimore, and I hear your sirens more often than I did growing up. Limau. Hi. Yeah, I know. It's awful. It's awful. It's awful. Baltimore's got that. There we go. When Ambo. Baltimore's got that great Baltimore accent that I can't do, but I know when you say Baltimore, and I'm not even going to embarrass myself by trying to do an impression of it. But that word itself, Baltimore, said in the Baltimore accent, is just such an American classic for me. When ambien. Ambient. Yeah, they're the ambiances. I don't know if that was an intentional pun by you, Simone Veronica, there, but yeah, when ambiances. When ambiances. Thanks, Rocky Outcrop. Love getting to see your look at ticker for the first time. So helpful. Cool. Nice one. Let's check back in with our pals GME and see how it's been getting on with the old technical analysis thing that we do on the show here. GME's current prices are what? $217. Oh, we're just above that $216 price point. Excellent. It's behind my head though, so you just can't see it. Zooming on in. This is a 24-hour time frame. What are you doing, Rocky? People don't want to wait. 5-minute time frame. There we go. That's more like it. Woo! Up above it. Did we ever fill in that gap? No, we did not. Did we retest it, by the way? Is that what that is there? No, we didn't. We didn't either. Cool. So we're just up above that bit at the minute. That's nice. We can see that the 216 was resistance. We pulled back down the way here. Came back down to 214, then pushed on up. Oh my goodness. It's just technical analysis. What? You just did exactly what we said that you would do 5 minutes ago. Wait, it was the past. Right, let me get this straight. Let me just figure out the timelines here. It was the past and this hadn't happened. Then I said, this is what's gonna probably what you'd be looking at for happening. And then it happened. What's that all about? Normally, this doesn't work like this. Normally, what happens is stuff happens, and then humans look at what happened after what happened, and then talk about it. Mad that I did it the other way around like that. Mad. Anyway, there we have that. So that's pretty cool. Let's take a look then over at the twin sister. Come on, look over at the twin sister. Look, AMC, the twin sister. We're tuning out in 28 minutes, by the way, folks, ladies and gents. So if you have got any sort of requests or whatever, get them in there. What are you doing not acting in exactly the same way? Look, AMC, we figured this out. We established it earlier on and we proved it that you work in exactly the same way, exactly the same time. Why are you not doing that? We actually do I need to have it on dual screen? Do I need to have it on dual screen so that the two charts can look at each other and then operate exactly the same way? Or is it that investing ideas into charts operating in exactly the same way for periods that go beyond, say, 15 minutes at a time is foolhardy and only good for talking about on YouTube and trying to get more people to follow you and think that you know what you're talking about? Which one of the two is it? Which one of the two is it? I don't know. I'm going to err on the side of caution with that one. Right, how about some naked? Let's get naked. It's getting hot in here. I'm going to buy some lingerie. Naked. Right, cool. Came back down to 69. Well, it's done that, right? It's moved there. It's a shame that it's done that move from the 77. Was it 77? You know, it's not a shame. Sorry, don't mean to ding dong. Shame. No, it's not a shame. It's just healthy, right? It's just normal, right? It's a higher low so far. Aye, cool. But it's a lower high as well. So we're kind of formed a consolidation phase in this period just here. Finding support in at this, clearly at that 50% Fibonacci retracement point. Just in terms, this is the 5-minute time frame. This is not going to last. You know, for instance, when Jamie comes back later on and is doing his show, you got that kind of setup just there. It's a bit attractive to the eye to do that. I'm not going to do that though, even though it's attractive to the eye. I'm just going to form it around there instead, with the acknowledgement that that actually does exist and that this line poking over here into the nether is not bad. It lines up, in fact, with where that Fibonacci retracement point is in terms of like where I would like to see this drawn in. That's coincidental, but that's where it is visually for people. Then I'm drawing a triangle. What I'm doing here is I'm looking at the naked chart and I'm drawing a triangle around this 5-minute time frame. I'm saying that we've got touches along the top, satisfactory amount. We've got touches along the bottom, satisfactory amount. We're a good ways into this zone here. Looking from the left where we kind of started this thing over to like the extreme edge of where it would be, that adds up to 345 bars. Doing something similar, but not actually, being anal about maths by any stretch of the imagination. That's 242 bars. So we're looking for 3/4 of something that's about 35. That's about 83. So 320. So all right, cool. So we're not quite there yet. Obviously, got like another couple of hours to go on this one, but maybe by mid-afternoon or something, we do see a movement on this and get a breakout. Is it? Maybe we do. Maybe we see something like this today. So that is possible. It's a 5-minute time frame. Obviously, by maybe we see something that's like this, it's possible today. I'll just show you in terms of like the 4-hour time frame that it's it's a question of, can we move outside of either of these zones? We're looking towards the previous lows down there, it'd be 66, stuff like that. But there's this gap, so let's not be blind to it. And that's all the way down at 63, and that may well get filled in. So you're going to be looking at two things here with regards to the price action with this chart. One, the support of the previous low. That's what you do. And when you're looking at triangles like this, it's advisable to look to the territory above and the territory below in terms of where you could be, where you could find prices move to, and not break out but fake out. This is fake out territory right in these two zones. You measure that obviously against the sort of the distance of the triangle itself and say, well, look, fake out is that chunk. If you're going for the breakout, then you're looking up towards these areas anyway, sort of idea in that front. And then down the way likewise, right? So and you can see how these things match up in terms of the distances across all the different measurements of this thing. So you could be looking down here and saying that we come and fill the gap, kind of piss about here and push up the way. You could say that we go in here and kind of put in a high around about the 618 maybe and get that 77 that I sort of accidentally said. It was 77 was where we were at the other day. So we could go up there and kind of push that 77 price point again and look for higher highs. But this is where we are just now, consolidating within this range as defined by this triangle over here that we're looking at on the charts. Okay, beautiful triangle for naked. A lot of pressure here at the top side to perform if we do come back up and not push back down again, which is pretty good. Obviously a lot of pressure at the top side to fail and not get above that zone. So it's lining up. Obviously, you would expect to see this inside a triangle. This isn't confluence as much as, this isn't necessarily confluence in terms of factors as much as it is what you would anticipate. These are different expressions of the same thing. So you always want to look and be critical when you're looking at the charts and saying to something, this is confluence. Is it actually confluence, or is it just two ways of expressing the same thing, right? I walk that line a lot. I'm going to say here that this is not actually confluence, that really this is the same thing, expressing the same thing. Now, I also walk that line quite often when I talk about divergences within wedges, and I say if you're looking for one, then you're looking for the other. I think that's incredibly educational, as is this section, to point out. It's still incredibly educational, but it's worth mentioning that. That at times, you're looking at things and you're saying, well, hey, look, there's this resistance up the top end of the triangle. Well, it wouldn't be a triangle if there wasn't. It wouldn't be a triangle if there wasn't. This is by implication the same thing. Right, that's that point made. I think that's an important one, very important for people to be aware of in terms of understanding what a confluence is and kind of just thinking about whether or not they're really just kind of drawing on the same thing. I mean, it would be equivalent in a sense of saying, wow, this upward sloping line of the part of this triangle has confluence with this section over here. I mean, that's not really fair. I pointed out that I was happy enough having this come down to this region as a result of that, and that's implicit then in this thing, and it's already accounted for. So do you see what I mean? That's kind of what I'm getting at. Right, sound. That was slightly behind me at the time when I was drawing it, just there. Right, cool. This is great stuff, Rocky Outcrop. Well, thank you so much, FU Money. That's really kind of you. I am unsure if it's too late. Too late for what? I'm always miss the start of the stream. Back to the start I go, although it is too late to buy into naked. My broker locked me out for 2 weeks because somebody tried to hack into it. Oh, that's so frustrating. Ms. A, that's so frustrating when that happens, that sort of thing. Yeah, it's what can you say? I mean, it's better that that's a mechanism that's there. It's better that it's a mechanism that's there, that somebody didn't just hack into your account and get your money. It's annoying that took so long to resolve. These things happen. Is it too late? It's a good question. In many senses, no, it isn't. But if you wanted to think about this from a point of view of, I would say no, absolutely it isn't. It isn't too late. In terms of trading within this range, and the experience that you can have in terms of the drawdown that you might get, at times you can think of it as being too late. It isn't. I would say it isn't. I would say this is a fairly decent buy at the minute. It's just that I would be taking profits if I was trading this and actually, proactive about things. In there at that 71, followed by 74, followed by 78. region. It would be how I'd be looking at things in terms of this if it moved towards the top side. Likewise, if I was just trading this, I'd quite happy to stop out of any trades if we push down to 65 or whatever, with perhaps the anticipation of buying back in at 63 or indeed 57. I'd rather buy at 57 than 63, to be perfectly frank with you. So those would be so in terms of are you too late? Well, possibly not, because what we could see here is this triangle resolve with a movement towards the downside, which is cool because overall in the bigger term time frames, it really doesn't mean anything at all. It's just like, where would that be? Well, that would just be a higher low, right? We've got this low down here. We've moved down. We put in a high. Could have a higher low, right? So, it wouldn't be that meaningful. But at the same time, it would be scary. Oh, at 53 as well, where there's 53 down below, there's a gap as well. Yeah, so don't forget about that, I suppose. So, no, you're not too late, right? And in terms of movements here, that's huge, 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 huge stuff. 30%, 40%, stuff like that. So huge. But we're also talking about, this is all the minutiae. Like, this is the micro of what otherwise is the potential for this to be head and shoulders at the bottom of a massive, massive, massive downward move. Now, along the way, there'll have been stuff like splits, etc. Here you can see a split. Here you can see that there was a split as well in the stock, etc. Blah blah blah. We know that. But this is still, nevertheless, should be in an adjusted chart, and we should be looking up towards the potential for this. Now, the stock never actually traded on an exchange at $800, $1,000 per share. That's just the equivalent of what they were trading at, the equivalent value that's within this company back then, and that was in 2018, that people said that was the amount of value. Now, fundamental analysts out there would tell you this was all fair, and this is the value and the actual value, and people that really believe in the 100% maximalists on the free market, efficient market hypothesis would say this is fair and the correct price. Options traders at the time would have said that they were perfectly priced, etc. Fair, perfect, all the way up there at that equivalent price of what was the equivalent of $1,000. But then, of course, what they did here is they took, for every share that there was, they handed out 5, and then for every share that there was over here, you're still too far away. You're leaning way. Look here. Look, come on. Yeah.
Wow, look at that. That's on a quest for price equivalency.
Yeah.
And where's it going to go in quest for price equivalency? Well, probably 50% of the way back up there, isn't it?
Well, yeah, so if you wanted to look for 50% just from the highs up there at what is now $1,000, down to roughly where those lows are, and just looking roughly at where the 50% line is in here, is up there at $8, and that's the 4.414 Fibonacci retracement point. And personally, in terms of looking at this thing, it's going to be in at the 4.414 414 and the 50% line that I'd be looking at on this one to say that it's extremely greedy, because we're talking about something going from 70 cents to $8. It's extreme. So 1,000x, 100x, 100x, 1,000% increase in the price, 100x in its value. Is that right? Am I saying it wrong? I don't even give a shit. 10x in its value. 10x, 10 bagger, a 10 bagger or whatever. Who cares? And then afterwards, I'm looking for the trend, bitches. But I mean, or whatever. It's like that's who knows, right? After that, it's when you're having conversations with the government about what, you talk about how the conditions have changed. You're looking at and saying that conditions would be changing. Right. Anyway, check it out. By the way, how good was that section that I did on GME earlier on? Like, seriously, how good was that section I did on GME earlier on, where I talked about how it could go down to the 212 price or the 214 price. I talked about the 236 and talked about the Ichimoku cloud, and that how good was it? Like, I think that it was pretty good. So here you can see that sort of that function of it there working, as we did do that decline back down to 207 before we actually kicked off today's price. And this is the 15-minute time frame, and currently we're kicking about at the 218 price point over here in the 5. Now, as it happens, not everybody needs to like this feckin' cloud thing, and trading off the back of it can be quite finicky, and that's fair enough. That's totally true. I mean, over here you got the cross. That was okay if you'd managed to respond immediately to it, but then you're looking and saying, where's the trend, whatever. whatever. But and you know, just kind of taking small trades off of this thing. It's times. See, it's things like this. Like and a shout out to FU who did a great stream yesterday, and shout out to him. Great, it was good quality content. And he was talking at one point about the Chimoku cloud. It's things like this that make it seem quite beautiful, isn't it? As the prices were moving up and then they pulled back down, and it's like how far could they go or whatever. And it isn't about necessarily giving you that exact price movement, but isn't it remarkable when you see stuff like that candle dipping into just that little crevasse over there? I mean, obviously there's a degree of sort of random coincidence about things, and that you can kind of apply any sort of idea that you like to these things, but it's nice, you know, this push up that came up into that area. And it was nice the other day when I was talking about things like the tempting looking lagoon with regards to AMC. Can't remember what time frame it was or anything else. I'm not going to go back and look at the tempting looking lagoon as I described it at the time. Anyway, now I think in terms of just talking about this in terms of simple support and resistance, it's fair enough. If we take out 216, I'm anticipating a move down towards filling in the gap down below. Is that fair to say? Yeah, it is. It's fair to say. Get with it. It's life, right? That's basically it. Could we see us not doing that and us finding support elsewhere and this thing living on the charts for all time, forever and ever and ever in a world without end? Amen? Yeah. Yeah, we could as well. Here's the 4-hour time frame just to show you that there are no gaps over here in that 4-hour time frame. Here's the 1-hour time frame to show you that there is a gap just here, and it's not the most hugest hugely widulist of gaps, but it's there though nevertheless. And that's the dichotomy that we're looking at between these two. There's that line. We're obviously above it at the minute. Can we aim up therefore to the 222 to 222 zone? Their next target up in terms of like being sort of like, hey, this is different. Is going to be moving up towards this 226 zone. Now we've talked about a lot of good stuff with regards to GME, how there could be a diamond here, and if that gap was to remain on the charts, and we were to talk about it, and this is me coming back. By the way, this is me coming towards the end of the show. This is why I'm talking this and this tone and everything. Just if the intonation isn't coming across. If we did see the prices moving on up from here, then and we were still saw that gap remain on the charts forever, what would be the reason for it that we would look back at the time? And I think it'd probably be fair enough to say, well, you know, you could look at this and talk about how there was this diamond that got broken out of, retested, and then after the retest, when we were satisfied with where we were, we just immediately gapped up in a nice breakaway and then ran on up the way thereafter. And that would be the look back historically, right? And then you would say to your friends, and you know what? Actually, there's a guy out there on the internet told us all about this as it was happening and why it was happening, and he's the most amazing thing in the world ever, and I want to have his babies. That's what you'd all say, even those of you that don't have wombs. A PayPal linked to the pinned thingy at the top of chat. If you go to this channel, the Patreon should be there. Yes, Patreon doesn't take out fees, so it's better. Yes, it is indeed. And I tell you what, by the way, folks, if you want to go and check out, where's that Willow thing? Let me just go get Willow again, because I'm always Willow. Was it Willow? It's such a shit domain, and I hate it, and I hate the way it looks and everything, and I hate the way it takes me to here every time I go to the page, and I hate the way that it didn't work on Jamie's stream for ages because of their stupid design, and I hate the way that Streamlabs said that they give me pro membership to this thing for a year or 6 months because I got their premium thing, and they didn't give it to me, and I hate the way that Streamlabs is crap, and I've moved to Stream Elements recently, but Stream Elements doesn't save your alerts locally, so the other fantastic ideas I've had for the stream doesn't work, and it really pisses me off, all of that. Really. And this, who thought this was good design? I'll tell you the answer to that, by the way, Willow. No one ever. There you go. Actually, no, that's not true. There was a brief moment, a window of like of a couple of years there where this design was shit hot. It was about 11 years ago now. Right. Anyway, by the way, it's crap. Or what I really love about this is the way that, you know, they're out of the box settings when you highlight them. It's and that just looks crap and everything. That's what I love about it. Anyway, the thing about this is that you can actually support the channel. It's not Willow. It's just got a link there to this thing with cryptocurrency. That's right, cryptocurrency. And you should be able to support me with the full range of them. So because I'm supposed to be pro, donate 1UpCoin Pro. I've already got pro. So I'm going to have to complain at these guys for not having done it. I paid them their money and they've not initiated it on my account. Brilliant. Excellent. So anyway, you can do that though. You can do cryptocurrency stuff too. And cryptocurrencies is free. And I like cryptocurrencies. You might have heard of me. I am actually a technical analyst that has, that does cryptocurrency crap constantly. I'm big into the cryptocurrency. So there you go. There's that. You can do that if you like as well. Replace pinned. That's a better pinned link. That gives you the chance to do it through various different mechanisms. They're all in there. It's really good. Thanks so much for everybody. Right. For thinking about it. 20 past the hour. Yes, I think this is crap. Why do I think it's crap? One of the reasons why it's crap is because this is the web page and they've designed it for being looked at on a mobile phone and they thought it was a good idea and it wasn't. It was a bad idea. It was bad design. This is just an example of bad design. It's what it is. Sometimes people think that like that Tim Cook guy, or not Tim Cook, the one that was before, Nick something that did the Apple design stuff, that it was so genius, and Steve Jobs was right, and it was genius. It was definitely well worth the money paying him for that design that he did, and that we should all aspire towards doing that. And then they do. Anyway, why am I talking about this? It's so boring for people. Right, sorry. Right, GME, woo, exciting times, 220. Where did it get as high as 221? Excellent stuff. Nice one. So we still want to see that 216 area be as support. Here we can see in its twin sister AMC operating exactly the same as it. Exactly the same as it. I mean, with the simple exception that what would qualify for it to operate exactly the same is no longer the case, and it's not exactly the same, and it's not actually operating the same way as it right now. But having said that, the twin sister over here operating exactly the same, doing something slightly differently for just now, is interesting stuff. By the way, thanks so much, Bad Mama Jama, for donating 420. They're just there now. That's awesome. Did it come up on the screen? Probably not. I don't know. Did it appear in the bowl? I didn't see it. Thanks so much. Jenna, good to see you. Made it. Thanks so much. Excellent stuff. Electro Boy, can you donate BAT? You should be able to donate BAT, man. Also, by the way, I'm a verified BAT guy, so you should be able to donate BAT just from, like, if you're on Brave browser using this page that you're looking at right now on YouTube. You should be able to donate. You should be able to support the creator using BAT. You should be able to do that with me. If you can't, let me know, but you should be able to, and you would be the third person ever. But yes, that's right. I've done technical analysis on the thing so many times, and that, and BAT. Oh yeah. Donate. Oh yeah, donate. Nobody's supporting their creators like that. Nobody does that. It's so messed up. Anyway, if you'd like to support me with BAT, I'd love it. It's great. But the general idea behind BAT at the start was people will use it. They'll get given this token. It's kind of worthless, but they'll just give it away to their creators that they like. It's cost them nothing. It's worthless. It's like we're not giving them any valuable stuff. It's basically, it's just pennies. But they'll give it to people that they like, and because enough people give them pennies, they'll get an income from it. It's great. That idea went out the window like on day 2 of BAT. Right. When I noticed yesterday. You can. I noticed yesterday. Brilliant. Excellent. Yeah, I'm on Brave, but I've only just started. Electro Boy, you only just started. You're on Brave, but you've only just started. It's cool. It's funny. That's the cryptocurrency thing, isn't it? It's like saying I've only just started. It's the drug equivalent of saying, yeah, that's right. I'm over here snorting cocaine, but I've only just started taking drugs. Has he started the NFTs yet? Asked Jamie. Has he finished them? That's a better question. He's probably done nothing. He flat out ignored all of my chat from the NFT stuff yesterday. I mean, I'm going to make that assumption because I actually ignored the chat at the time I was making the chat. Anyway, we're 25 past the hour. I'm supposed to have all this time that I've been talking there. Oh my God, I can't believe it. It's such a waste of time. I was supposed to be over on this screen. Spin around. Spin around. Let's enjoy a cup of tea together, eh? How you doing? You enjoying your tea over there? Or your coffee? Either or, it's fine. By the way, for you at home wondering if I'm the type of guy that would have gone into the office back in the day with my shirt buttoned down as low as this, then the answer, my friends, is yes. It's like, oh my goodness, you can almost see my side boob. Oh my goodness. Tell Tracepon that he hasn't sent me any list. says Electro Boy. Well, there you go, Trace. When you haven't sent him any list, you can't expect him to. Man cannot work on bread and air and water alone. He needs lists. He needs lists to be able to work. That's what the man needs. The man says he needs a list. So I've told him the message has been communicated. How long after... Jamie wants to know how long after he gives you the list will you have completed all of the work. Anyway, I don't... Come on, Electro Boy, get that. What do we need? We need to electrocute your boy bum, right? Pull your finger out, says Tradespot. Okay. Anyway, yeah. Getting the chai tea out, says Alex Baker. Excellent, nice one. Tea time, enjoy it. Russell Brand has really cleaned himself up. The opposite way around of that joke. Nice one, excellent. Thanks so much, love it. Get on it, Tradespot, says Shepherd of Unicorns, Shepherd of billion-dollar businesses. Bavash J, tell Jamie to send me my shirt. Oh wait, if you not sent Bavash J's shirt, it's on the way. It's on the way, Bavash. Slow mail, yeah, it's going there through snail mail, delivered by actual snails. Do I need to send Jamie 2 if I sent to Electro Boy? Interesting. Electro Boy, eh? They're coming in here with your whole give me a list bullshit, and then there you are with people directly submitting you stuff. Oh, aye. Anyway, what am I doing? I've taken on Jamie's argument for him. Wait, no, I'm supposed to just be passing messages on, not getting involved. I'm the one that doesn't do that. That's what everybody knows about me. Lemao Banana Fridge, there's getting good feedback from the audience there with regards to your sense of humor. That Jiu-Jitsu guy, I think you missed some BMJ super chats. You know what? I think I probably did too. Scrolling back here, there was one that was 420. That was 5 minutes ago. Then there was a DTCC chat from before. Then there was 420, Bad Mama Jamma, good stuff, and looking fresh today. Thanks so much, my man. Then there was Katie Babes before that with very generous $25. Thank you so much. Then that's all of the ones that I've got in terms of what Stream Elements says to me. Stream Elements, by the way, being radically annoying and not showing me my alert stuff properly. Yeah. So I don't know. AHT on the move. Yeah, man. Use a Bad Mama Jamma one there as well. I've not looked at AHT today. It's actually quite good. I'll enjoy looking at AHT, Ashford Hospitality Trust. Ashford Hospitality Trust. Sometimes it's funny. Ex-girlfriends and that of mine have pointed out to me how I do the Sean Connery-ish sound when I say S's sometimes, but I never really notice it myself. But Ashford Hospitality Trust. Mush money penny. Yeah. No, undo. That's what I wanted. Moving up exactly to where that green line was today. It signifies to me that it's still within the sort of experiencing that little bit of pressure, bouncing off the cloud here in the 1 hour time frame, coming back up there, at that 50% baseline region, 50% of the way between these highs and lows over the last chunk of time essentially is where the prices have managed to make themselves up to 1482. Want to see them obviously capture this area of $15 and closing above it is good. It is good. It starts to turn this thing into a better looking. Wait a minute, fuck, is this even open on screen? It's not even open on screen, is it? Let me just screen open. He realizes not too super late this time around. Hey folks, right, so yeah, looking at this thing, look at this thing, you've got your I need to get some more shirts, by the way, as well. They don't all fit me anymore. You need to, so this thing here, I'm in the way of the charts as well. Oops, undo again, take it from the top, Rocky. Accidentally drawing the charts again by mistake, do all that. Yeah, right. So this thing would be in much better shape if we were actually being up above $15 at the minute. Naturally, you want to see this trace continue on up the way. Little kind of notes for kind of like being that's worth pointing out are that indeed this is a low which is lower than the previous lows. I'm discounting it based on numerous factors. The wicks that we've got here and this being an open as opposed to a close. The price has never actually traded down here in terms of the real world. They only did it in the fake world of pre-market trading. So yeah. And so far we're looking good, and you're right, we are looking strong. Everything looks pretty good on this one. Today, if we saw a retracement back down towards 1466 and then continuation thereafter, I would be happy chappy, right? That's what I would be, a happy McChappy to Chappieson. But if we actually continue to go on up the way just without ever doing that, I'd be happier. I'd be a happier McChappy, right? If we were to drop down below that 1460 area, then again, I'd be a bit morose on it. But it would only really actually be concerned at all about the price movements if we took out 1420. So I wouldn't be concerned. It'd just be a bit glum. I start to be, positive and optimistic here where we are right now. I start to be more confident though with regards to that. Confident past optimism, becoming a bit more confident at the $15 region. I get to be quite happy, exuberant, almost starting to kick in, but just happy. I would say really up towards the 1530s, 1540s, but exuberance kicks in above 1550, right? In terms of my emotional landscape, looking at this chart from up and down and how I therefore manage my how I adopt risk in this situation. Adopt it like a little baby from Africa. That's what I would do, as I'm very kind like that. So, right, great, excellent stuff. That is 31 minutes past the hour. Oh my God, I know. No, you hang up. No, you hang up. No, you hang up. That's right, we're at that stage of the show. Woo! We're at that stage of the show where I have to say goodbye. I know, friends. It hurts. It does. It's sad. I don't know. I still don't know how to roll credits over here on Stream Elements. Maybe I can't. Have I even considered that? Have I even considered that I can't do it? Not really. So I'm going to try and get that figured out. As you can see here as well, my names below weren't working properly before, but I think they are updated now. But I'm also seeing, I also can't really tell. I don't really know. This one, recent tip, Bad Mama Jamma. So that's good. That's definitely working. Good to see you on the list there, Bad Mama Jamma. But I don't know. I don't know if anything else is working. I see that thing's got like a couple more bits in it, but I don't think super chats certainly weren't working through Stream Elements. Only God knows why these things work. Only God and boffins. So, yes, brilliant. I can do it manually, though, I think, to an extent. Let me just open up Stream Labels now. See if the Stream Labels things work, right? Then, and it still has all of the most up-to-date tips. Then I might have the ability to do some cool stuff with it. If it doesn't and it stopped working, I can only use one or the other. Then I've got a decision to make because I have this cooler tip jar where shit moves around and stuff, and eventually I want that to be improved. It'd be really cool if anybody out there in the audience wants to try and help me get the Mitch Ray style jar where you give me animations for if you're a graphics designer and programmer and you're looking to do something like I would love to help Rocky. Then if you could look at how to get the sprites for these images, as you can see, they're just a series of sprites or whatever, and then upload them for all the different currency things, program it out using JavaScript or whatever. I think there's not or whatever. Stream Elements got its own ways of doing stuff. Then we could have cryptocurrencies popping in there, and that'd be awesome. Especially once I get my 1UP coin thing working, so that it's why did they not give me pro on that? The bastards. Yeah, exactly. And if you know anybody else that might be able to help, and as well, if you've got friends that are out there that are programmers and coders and stuff that they're into this, then this is great. Well, yeah, Jimmy says it's the biggest thing you want for the channel. To be honest with you, it's the one thing that I consistently look for and I would love. If there was one thing that I would really love for the channel, the biggest thing for the channel for me, right, and it's a personal thing for me. It's the personal thing, would be to have a cool tip jar where the cryptocurrencies come in, looking like the cryptocurrencies, and go into the jar and bounce around as crypto. That would be the number. That would be so fucking awesome. Something I've wanted and I've searched for on Google and that 1,000 times since starting the show. Right. So, which is why I'm so conflicted between if I give up this jar and that, then do I get? Oh, they are still there. They are still there, the other ones. So then if I got these other ones, then they maybe save locally. Now, if they save locally, what I might be able to do is well, I'll tell you about it in the future because it's a cool little fun thing. It's funny enough, by the way. Chris Sweeney might be able to help with that, says Jimmy. Funny enough, right? We did this chat last night in the Discord with about regards to harmonics. Oh, I think it looks like we're not going to be doing one today. We'll do one the day after. We might. Well, if we can get it around to it's just that we're trying to put stuff together, and it's difficult timing wise. I mean, spend so long online. I mean, look, I'm already 5 minutes over my time here today. But there's so we were doing this thing about harmonics, right? And I was talking about harmonics and how maybe to an extent there's this funny thing, right? On the one hand, when it comes to harmonics, I'll treat Scott Carney like God. And then on the other hand, I'll ridicule him the entire time I'm looking at anything he's done. It's a difficult one for me, right? But it's the only way that I can do it because I need to treat everything that he's done like it's just like gospel. And then at the same time, I can't afford to give anybody that type of mental space because it's just ridiculous. He's wrong about so much of his self-interpretation of what he thinks himself, right? So I have to reconcile this somehow, and I can't. But because I'm a human being, I can magically. God, idiot, same time, brilliant. And he does this thing where he's all like, yeah, I discovered this, it's proprietary, I did it. Anyway, I've got this mentality, and so is Jamie, and it comes from partly from entrepreneurship, where we often say to each other, if you've had an idea at any given time, the chances are somebody else in the world has had that exact same idea at the exact same time, and they're working on it. Classic examples: the light bulb, the telephone, the television. All of these things were invented at the same time by somebody else, and the other person didn't get the big win. Now, there's other examples. For example, Jamie and I set up a company which was essentially Facebook when Zuckerberg was doing Facebook. Right, it was a big deal at university for university students at nightclubs to share photographs, become friends. Online storage, gave people unlimited online storage, and we're talking this is the year 2000, right? And really big deal stuff, okay? And we were thinking this is brilliant, cutting edge. Now, if we had pursued that, maybe we would have been, another Facebook, but we kind of at the time thought, oh yeah, somebody else is doing this. And now that's how we are, right? Whereas Scott Carney is the opposite. He'd have had that second version of Facebook, no problem. See, the thing is, he discovered that the 886 is really important in price action. He discovered all these things. Like, he discovered that it's all him. It's all him. Oh, my proprietary method, the best. Now, the thing is, like I say, treat him like it's God because his proprietary methods and all that are very good. I don't mind. I'm quite humble. I'll hand off attribution and claim and fame to anybody. And thirdly, I'd have probably been quite like him had I been doing what he was doing back when he was doing it, as opposed to doing what I'm now. So I can't blame him. I'm also massively human and sympathize with him and think every time I say he's an asshole, I might as well say the same thing about myself. So it's a tough situation to be in. It really is, to be so self-aware like that. Anyway, and then to stride forward and continue to ridicule the guy. Anyway, thought about that yesterday when I thought of this idea for how to make. Well, I didn't actually. I have to give credit as well. I was about to claim full credit there and double down on my hubris. But Jamie thought of this idea for something to do on the streams, and then because he thought that idea and said it, I took the idea, and it was like 99% of the idea that he came up with, and then came up with my own idea, which is proprietary, and it's now my idea. I own it now. And I'm going to have this idea for the streams. And then as soon as I thought of that, what did I do? Delta. There's a delta at this point, a critical path. Either I go the Scott Carney method, and I think I've invented this for sure, and I'm going to do it. I'm going to tell everybody about it as well. Or I go the other one, and I think, there's billions of people out there in the world, and there's more and more of them every day have got access to the internet. Chances are, stats and that has been thought of by somebody else. I'll look up how to do it. Anyway, great stuff. Found out how to do that. Now, what? No, I didn't find out how to do it, actually. It's still not possible, so I'm still going to have to invent it myself. So that's the thing. But somebody had done it for Twitch. They'd done it for Twitch, not for YouTube. Now, I'm going to have to do it for YouTube myself. And I'm thinking here, when I'm looking at the Streamlabs thing, I'm thinking, I could do this. Maybe if I do it. Because I can do stuff, right? I can do stuff. Anyway, that's funny too. By the way, you know how I've got that button? I've not used it this week because I've changed the stream elements. Got that button I can push that'll remove my background. That uses this NVIDIA software. And I went looking, same mentality. Somebody surely has done this before. Anyway, they hadn't. And I had to figure out how to get the button to push to move my background myself, right? I had to code that out myself, and that's like, and I didn't want to have to do that, and I was all then afterwards doing a Scott Carney thing, wasn't I? Because you saw me on screen, I was like, I'm the only one in the world that's ever done this, right? So I did it, right? So I'm aware. Scott Carney, if you're watching now, I'm aware. I'm the asshole too, right? Anyway, bang, right? Thanks so much for everybody tuning in, and it's good to see this. I know people ask Jamie about Flux. Do they? Says Spam Mama Jam. I know people ask Jimmy about Flux. I'm not sure. I know people ask Jimmy about Flux. Oh, I know people ask Jamie about Flux. Oh, right, cool, excellent. Thanks, man. I'll do that after the show. Salamander, psst, charts. Yeah, psst, fucking charts. Salamander, you're addicted to charts. Get Salamander, go water your plants. Right. Craig Walker, 650 via Patreon. Thanks, man. You're a member of the Discord. Hopefully, the Discord now welcomes people in the tea room rather than the other one. Hopefully, as well. So we'll see if that works. Be sure you go there and say hello. Daniel Assange donated $10 through Super Chat. No such thing as a failure, bro. If there wasn't, you ain't one. Woo! Excellent. That's a nice message. Thanks so much, man. Mike Fitzpatrick, hi Rocky. You have a look at that thing. We did that earlier. Brilliant, excellent. That's everybody. So thanks to you guys. Thanks to everybody. D Harker, what? Oh my God, paying forward some TA for some fellow outcropticians. Thanks for the show. 2 hours ago, D Harker donated that. It didn't come up on Stream Elements at all. Stream Elements, fucking ass. Right, D Harker. Thank you, paying it forward and paying it backwards. The sense myself, like I would have done this regardless of that donation. The fact that you've donated to that there is super amazing. You know, my chat revenue for today's stream through Super Chat is 40 quid. 40 quid, you know, not bad at all. 40 quid, not bad at all. It's the equivalent of, you know, it's not bad at all, right? 40 quid, not bad at all. I'm super happy, super pleased, super privileged, super everything. But then people doing the donations thing, so slightly less thing, that adds up. And that adds up to more. Now it's more than 40 quid, and those were less taxes. And then I look down the list and I see $100 on there, and then I think, fucking hell. I wasn't bothered. I was happy. I guess my humility and my commitment on the show and my sort of compassion towards you as learning, in a sense, means that I'm happy to get through the show and see that there hasn't been much donations. It's fine. And then and that, you know, whatever. And then I looked in the list, and my goodness, man, rewarding me for this in advance. So awesome. I just love the karma of that situation, the way that worked out. It's really generous, really kind of you. Thank you so much, man. Really appreciate it. And then there's that one sipping on piss, and that was at the start of the show as well. Thanks so much. Oh, Brew Lee also became a patron earlier on as well. Great, thank you so much. And BPW became a patron yesterday. Thank you so much to all of yous as well. Look, by the way, thank you to all of yous. Really massively appreciate it. If any times I come across as being arrogant or whatever else, I'm sure I do, because like, look at the way that I was talking about Scott Carney there. It's all satire and fun, and I hope that comes across ultimately. It's respect for everybody. I love all of you so much, and I'll see you again. Oh, Eddie VW. Whoa ho. Nice one. Became an early sport. Thanks so much. Another member there. That's quality. Did it appear up over here in Extreme Elements? No, it didn't. Right. Much love, everybody. Thank you so much for tuning in. I'll see you again tomorrow. And I'll be in the Discord. And I'll be around. You know? Much love.